And I'm back in the second part. I know why the beginning of the film. I, um, One thing when I saw the behind the scenes where Michael Dorn on the voicing of the film, where Michael Dorn voicing Matanui says, "I was searching for a way back to my homeland," and I was I, like, then can they? Then I was like, is there a possibility they could tell how the beginning of the film Matanui came from someplace else and someone banished him out of it? But technically, they were able to, according to the Matanui trailer. There are three trailers of this film: the Matanui trailer, the Yaka trailer, and the Kina trailer, where it reveals Matanui, where it reveals the 2008 story element, where the Matari Universe robot riot, which that's the name I gave it. Of course, which of course is literally referred to as the Great Spirit Robot. It rose from the endless ocean, and Terrax took it over and banished him in the Mask of Life. So at least we got that element. But the reason it didn't relate to whether after Web of Shadows finished up is all because, as first of all, this was released 4 years afterhand. So while we wait and during the following times after the Web of Shadows, we had to focus on the Annika and the Baraka storyline. Then it focuses on the Baraka and Toomari, then to the Fantica and Mystica. This film is done by a different studio instead of Miramax, and so they need to make the beginning a bit different. Where the beginning, so I guess they want to make the beginning a bit different. Where it says Matanui has now risen to ready to protect his people until evil took over. That's why the beginning is a bit different. That's one thing that everyone has to understand. Of course, not everybody agrees because they know this did relate at the end of 2008, and I know, and yes, it's true that all the storyline went on, but because film-wise, that they need to make sure the beginnings were different. This is the first time I've seen the same franchise with different films, with different versions of film series. How this is a Miramax series, this is a different series. That ain't the only thing, because I did find out that Batman films, there was the Tim Burton and Schumacher version, and then rebooted by Christopher Nolan in 2005. Those are differences too, and so did the Spider-Man films where Sam Raimi directed it, and Mark Webb began to direct the restart of the Spider-Man franchise, and the recent and how we had all the old classic Superman films back in the 1970s, and rebooted with with the recent Man of Steel. I do have that film, and I could reach my way to review it. So you'll have to understand that this film is different from this is a different film series in the Miramax versions. One thing that kind of made me think that's different from the Miramax versions is because the characters do have that action figure do have the appearance of their own action figures. If you can see, I'll get Matanui right here. Here's Matanui. He does look exactly like he does. His film form is actually like his action figure persona. Technically, because it was the director's idea, and I guess it's fine because because of all the pieces designed for him, you can't do much to re-edit their appearances that they did in Miramax. So I guess it's acceptable, but at least with the films, the masks do have that closed mouth and open mouth function. What I mean by closed mouth and open mouth, you saw in the film how the Mask of Life opens this part, and we can see the mouth from the 2009 heads. And it's the same thing with Gresh and Tarex. You can see their mouths when those things open, and so at least we get to see that. And of course, why the Mask of Life is exactly like this, I kind of found out. It's supposed to when it flew its way to Baramagna, it's supposed to adapt into the Baramagna environment, looking like a Glatorian mask rather than a treasure for anybody to scoff. And I guess that's why it kind of looked like that. Especially, it's not just set wise that the mask looks like this when it is for this guy. It is in the story that it does fully resemble like that. And one thing while the rest of the Glatorian are a bit rusty in the film, the back of Matanui's head is the only thing rusty. The rest of his body wasn't, unless he adapts well enough unless he spends enough time in Baramagna. And of course, there were supposed to be two sequels for that, which I'm gonna pretend that there are because I'm gonna stick to the reason why. Which I'm gonna pretend there were two more. There were supposed to be. I'm gonna pretend the two sequels were already out for this film. What for a reason why I'm pretending because that's the that way we can have this film's reason to be we can have this film's reason to be released. And because Wikipedia called it a reboot, I thought make it fair to make sure a reboot does have to give the sequels because Batman because Batman Begins, a reboot of the film, gets to have sequels like The Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises, and The Amazing Spider-Man is now doing a sequel is doing a sequel next year in 2014. And Man of Steel has announced a sequel in 2015 where doing with a crossover with Batman, replaced with a new actor Ben Affleck, and Wonder Woman played by Gal Gadot. The actors have been announced to be that way. So I'm going to pretend there are sequels for this, so that way we stick to the reason for this film to come out. As a matter of fact, I did write down how the story. I did manage to read. I took the three comics that took place after this film: Valley of Fear, All That Glitters and Rebirth, the final remaining issues of the Glitorian comics, and the end of the Bionicle series. I took off elements from that using the Valley of Fear's story and added different stories and added some stories. I did reveal that Martinui comes about where Martinui's on his own like in the comics and stuff, and he got teleported to and how he got teleported to Bota Magna. I kind of built my own story on that stuff, and he gets teleported back and gets the power source from there. And the two later comics, I readapted more of this. I readapted a long-term story to combine the two comics together, where the Battle of Bara Magna. I did write down a story. I did write down a story of how the two later sequels would go. I could bring them up, but that would mean scoffing my idea. I could bring them up, but that would mean scoffing my idea. Just so I'm not gonna show you how it goes. Unless they do, unless there's a possibility. So yeah, I'm pretending the two more sequels for this film did come out. To stick to the reason why this film was out all along. And second of all, this is a start for him having Adventures of Bara Magna, and we get to have that. Yeah. And when I found out that Michael Dorn was known for Star Trek, Miles Sokol was known for other films and stuff, the people who played the actors and actresses who played these characters in the film, what made me realize that different from these films where they don't have much famous actors and actresses in this film, this one has much more of it. This one has too much famous actors in this film. Michael Dorn, Miles Sokolov, Marvin Galetti, David Leisure, and all possible those famous actors whatsoever. Of course, ain't the only thing. Chris Nolan's Batman. There are famous people like Christian Bale and stuff. So that's the only thing. So that's one of the things that counts. And the only good thing about this film is because according to these films, there's too much romance emotions between a toe of fire and a toe of water. That's a bit, whenever toe of fire is upset, a toe of water is upset. Because there's too much passionate emotions going on rather than focusing on their mission. This kind of plays like they are taken seriously to focus on saving the world. So at least, and when Kina complained about Tajan being destroyed, she wasn't upset. She was actually she's actually in panic. Because the villagers inside the Tajan would have been killed. Not to mention Gresh would have been killed too. When we found him wounded at the Skrull attack. And originally I thought the Skrull and Boners did work together, but little did I know that they weren't yet until sometime in the film they were. And Tuma, yes, he sounds like a snake, but everyone can think it's bad, everyone may think it's bad, but I don't. At least we know that Tuma is more like at least it treats Tuma's character to be like a dangerous, vicious guy. But and they do play his character to act like they do play his character a bit like he's more like a cocky character where he says he can beat everybody down. but when I saw the damage on his back, I was like how, wow, that leads me. The damage on his back, I kind of found out in the Empire of the Scroll story where Batera caused that damage on his back.